In the hills above Kathmandu, families began leaving homes they had lived in for decades, not because of war or climate, but because king cobras were moving closer. As the forests broke apart, a hidden detail made things worse. Mother cobras guarding their nests at the edge of human life. Places where fear became routine. Kathmandu has always lived close to the wild. Densely populated neighborhoods rise alongside forested hills, and everyday life often shifts between urban streets and mountain trails. In Gopalakwire, Bengan, and Sangu, the balance once seemed steady, respected. But that border slowly faded. Residents began noticing movement where there had been none before, along narrow paths, near storage structures, even inside homes. At first, signs seemed isolated, easy to ignore, but repeated soon, pattern emerged, undeniable. In Sangu, people moving through nearby forests started finding something unusual scattered on the ground. Hidden under the leaves were clusters of large eggs, much bigger than expected. These were not harmless discoveries. They were signs of a deeper shift in the ecosystem. The fear did not come from a single encounter. It came from a realization. King cobras, among the largest and deadliest venomous snakes, no longer stayed deep in the forest. They were now using the same paths that people used every day. Familiar spaces started to feel uncertain, even dangerous. For years, snakes were part of life in Nepal. Thousands of bites are recorded each year, and many families saw the risk as unavoidable. But something changed when encounters went from rare to routine. From that point on, this was no longer about isolated incidents. It was a system shifting beneath the surface. The question was no longer whether snakes were entering human spaces, but why the boundary itself was collapsing. Why are snakes moving closer? At first, it might seem like the snakes have changed, as if they had suddenly become more aggressive or started seeking out humans for no reason. But closer look, researchers found another cause, not snakes, but the land itself. In recent decades, Nepal has grown fast. Forests that once stretched continuously across the hills have been fragmented by roads, housing, and farmland. What was once unbroken habitat is now split into isolated patches. For a king cobra, it's not just lost space, it's a lost pathway. In an intact forest, a snake can move freely, retreating deeper when disturbed. In a fragmented landscape, escape routes vanish now. Movement stays in narrow corridors, many leading straight to homes. Snakes don't choose to approach people, they're driven to. Meanwhile, human habitats unintentionally provide the resources snakes need to survive nearby. Shelter forms in debris, gaps in buildings, and storage areas. Rodents thrive on waste and food stores, providing a steady source of prey. Water holes, especially in dry times, attract more wildlife. That creates a strong draw. Snakes are pushed out of their natural habitat while being pulled toward environments that confine them. What follows is not sudden, it is gradual. The distance between the wild and human life shrinks until the boundary disappears completely. And once that boundary is gone, encounters are no longer accidents. They become inevitable. The cobra is no ordinary snake. Among the many venomous species in South Asia, the king cobra stands apart. It is the longest venomous snake in the world, capable of exceeding 5 meters. Its neurotoxic venom attacks the nervous system and can stop breathing within hours without treatment. When it feels threatened, it can raise a large part of its body and come up to a person's eye level. But what makes it truly unique is something rarely seen in snakes. It builds nests. Unlike most egg layers that leave, the female king cobra builds a leaf and debris nest, controls temperature, and actively guards her eggs through incubation. She stays almost 2 months on nest. Everything changes. In fragmented habitats, these nests no longer hide in forests. They show up near trails, farms, even homes. And when a nesting female is present, the risk increases dramatically. A cobra guarding its nest isn't roaming around. It's defending its territory. The slightest nearby movement can trigger a defensive reaction that is faster, more persistent, and more dangerous than an ordinary encounter. What seems like an unpredictable attack is often a response to something unseen, a nest hidden beneath the leaves that shapes the snake's behavior. This concentrates the danger in specific points. The risk isn't evenly spread, it's clustered. Once this pattern is understood, encounters in places like Canggu no longer seem random. They follow conditions that repeat wherever forests are fragmented, and this leads to a deeper realization. If the behavior is changing, then the forces driving it are still in motion. Climate, floods, and rising urban encounters. Even in fragmented landscapes, snakes would normally remain in quieter areas if conditions remain stable, but those conditions are changing. Rainfall has become less predictable. Floods are more frequent. Temperatures are rising. During heavy rains, burrows fill with water, forcing snakes from their shelters to seek higher ground. In an intact forest, this movement would lead them deeper into the wilderness, but in a fragmented landscape, higher ground often means roads, fields, or homes. What looks like an intrusion is often a forced displacement. At the same time, higher temperatures increase snake activity. Their metabolism accelerates, they hunt more, and range farther. For people working in fields or moving around at night, this directly increases the risk. Urban environments start to resemble fragments of natural habitat. Piles of debris mimic forest cover. Drainage systems create hidden pathways. Rodents thrive, drawing in predators. Water sources, from leaks to reserves, hold them longer. Overlapping conditions breed unpredictability. Snakes show up where least expected. In homes, under floors, near storage spots, encounters rise in number and unpredictability too. Over time, reports start to converge. Calls to emergency services increase. Medical cases multiply. Treatment centers expand. Even if better awareness plays a role, the consistency seen across regions points to something larger. This isn't a temporary spike, it's a lasting shift in how often these two worlds collide. Why do simple fixes fail? When danger shows, instinct says remove it right away. With snakes, that often means killing them outright. Seems logical. Cut the threat, cut risk. But ecosystems rarely work that way. Snakes regulate rodent populations. Eliminating them leads to a rapid increase in rodents that damage crops and spread diseases. Fixing one problem quietly causes another, often worse. Relocation feels more steady. Catching snakes to release in forests is common. Yet many species, including king cobras, are still highly territorial. They may try to return or fail to adapt, leading to repeated encounters or higher mortality. Other ideas, like biological control, seem appealing but remain risky. Adult king cobras have few natural predators. Targeting eggs or hatchlings has been considered, with insects like certain wasps proposed as a potential threat. While such interactions exist in nature, little evidence suggests they actually regulate snake populations. Introducing or encouraging these species could lead to unforeseen consequences, including increased aggression toward humans or an imbalance affecting other species. History is filled with similar interventions that have backfired. Once an ecosystem is disturbed, restoring it is far harder than predicting the effects. There is no simple solution. Every action involves trade-offs. The challenge is not just to reduce encounters with snakes, but to do so without destabilizing the entire system. This is what actually saves lives. When quick fixes fail, the focus shifts to something more concrete: risk reduction. In Nepal, this means changing the conditions that bring snakes and humans together. Simple measures have proven effective: clearing debris, sealing openings in homes, and reducing dense vegetation around living spaces help eliminate hiding spots. These changes make areas less attractive without harming surrounding ecosystems. Rodent control is essential. Less food means fewer predators. Better waste management and food storage reduce both rodent populations and snake sightings over time. Awareness is just as important. Using a flashlight at night, wearing protective footwear, and avoiding direct contact with unfamiliar animals significantly reduce the risk. These small behavior changes have a measurable impact, especially in high-risk areas. Medical care has also improved. More treatment centers make faster intervention possible, which is crucial when dealing with neurotoxic venom. But access alone isn't enough. People must also seek care quickly, which means abandoning ineffective traditional remedies. Technology begins backing efforts. Mapping snake sightings and bite cases helps identify high-risk areas, turning scattered data into actionable information. Together, these strategies offer a different approach. They don't seek to control the snake. They reduce the chances of crossing its path. In a landscape where separation is no longer possible, this becomes the most effective approach. This is the future Nepal is moving toward. The boundary between human space and wildlife will not return to what it once was. The landscape has changed. Forests will remain fragmented, and cities will continue to expand. Species like the king cobra will adapt rather than disappear. This means the conflict isn't temporary. It'll be daily life in more and more regions. Encounters that were once rare will become expected, especially where development encroaches on forest edges. Risk will concentrate in areas where environmental pressure and human activity overlap the most. Nesting cobras add another dimension. A mother protecting her eggs creates a fixed point of danger, even if the area seems calm. Residents may never see the nest, yet their presence can trigger defensive behavior that seems sudden and unpredictable. This is how gradual change becomes a direct risk. It builds slowly through small shifts until the pattern becomes obvious. What starts as observations turns into a trend, then reality. By then, the question isn't whether coexistence is possible, but how to coexist. It's about understanding how it will be managed. The answer depends on adaptation, awareness, and how the balance between development and ecology is maintained. Once balance breaks, restoring it is much harder than keeping it. In the end, the danger was never only just the snake. It was space fading between two worlds. When that space collapses, survival isn't control anymore. It's understanding how to live beside what won't ever vanish.